Hello.
Hello. Are there people here?
There are. Source is here.
Do we have to talk to them?
What Tomato is here. Panic Bomb is here, and Sarcastic Grandpa is here.
Do we have to talk to these people?
I mean, it's nice to say hello to your friends when you see them.
Hello. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Is that a good way to do it? Audio starts and Jason's complaining about someone. I'm amused and curious. No, I just said that the paper towels were gone, so I was yelling at Gabe to go see if he could get us another roll of paper towels.
Yeah.
I wasn't complaining about anyone. I was complaining about being out of paper towels.
And look who's
Complain about me?
delivering.
I was complaining about Gabe.
I was
towels.
so close to bringing you toilet paper instead.
Dude, you should have just brought a toilet paper roll and like left the paper towels out there, because that would have been pretty good.
I was going to, but then I would have to tear, like, there was like not even like a pack that was out. I would have to tear open the whole thing and then open the pack.
That's always a pain in the
It
butt.
just wasn't worth it.
That's a pain in the butt. That's a lot of work for a joke.
Yeah.
But
Bye.
you would have had brownie points. Say bye, Gabe.
Right,
Gabe.
because toilet paper.
Oh, man. Why did it become a poop joke?
Poop jokes.
Why did it become a poop joke? It's not by Gabe. It's by Gabe. No, it's not by Gabe. You guys. Jeez, a Pete's chat. It's a lot simpler than you're making it.
Poop jokes by Gabe.
Yeah, poop jokes by Gabe. That's like advertising. All right, so I'm doing a palette cleansing model. Gabe built this, as a matter of fact. It is the special War Crow. We're going from one anthropomorphic beastie to another. This time it's a polar bear. We're done with the woodlands guy, but now we're into polar bear guy.
Hey, I built that. I feel like I've asked this before.
You feel like what?
What is Gabe's little picture here? Is it a pickle?
I'm not seeing. What are we talking about?
Right here.
Oh, no, it's Gumby.
It's Gumby. Oh, that's right.
He's hipster Gumby,
It's
remember?
Gumby, but
so that's
not.
Gumby with like sunglasses on.
Gumby, but not really Gumby.
The fact that he even knows what Gumby is amazing to me.
I guess it sort of be Gumby-esque, but as I'm saying these words, I realize that we have talked about this before.
I'm going to make shirts that say "Keep Gumby Gen X."
Always catches you off guard. That's Romeo. Always catches you off guard to hear people say Gabe since it's your name. You've never met anyone else with
Gabriel.
Never met any other Gabes.
I call him Gabriel.
Rubber hose art style. Gotcha.
Oh, Gabriel, come toot your horn. Isn't Gabriel the one with the horn?
Huh?
Isn't Gabriel the one with the horn, the angel with the horn?
Oh, I don't.
He blows the horn for the war horn.
Don't ask me religious questions. I have no idea.
The herald of the Lord, Gabriel. Is that the whole thing? Am I wrong? Not up to date with my biblical references, maybe. I feel like Gabriel's got the horn.
You've met other people named Gabe, but way back, usually people your age, over 50, but not recently. Interesting. I don't think if I ever had any students named Gabe. Maybe I didn't.
It's a trumpet.
It
Okay,
doesn't
gotcha.
seem like
Horn.
an uncommon name.
I mean, trumpet's a horn, right? Checks out. Is a trumpet player going to get mad at me if I say, hey, will you come play your horn? Probably, huh?
In high school, I was very skinny, same height with same long limbs. A friend told me I looked like a hipster version of Gumby, and thus hipster Gumby was born. Love it. Except you weren't green.
We definitely need a shirt line that is keep X Gen X again. Insert whatever has been appropriated by all these other generations.
Horn makes you think of Dynamo to Glow. I was thinking of a French one. But Gabe, yeah, you don't have enough green. You should have been in that green paint commercial.
Trumpeters don't get mad, they get even. Oh, Nick from Gray Primer. They're all nice to your face, and then you wake up and they're beating you to death in your pillow with their trumpet. Somebody had to be the director of what?
Of the green paint commercial. I told him that he's not green enough to become B.
Oh.
He should have been in the green paint commercial in Philip's spot. But he had to be the director. Romeo G needs some airbrush pointers. Said I tried Pro Curl Straight, watered, etc. I always get clogs on a freshly cleaned airbrush.
Okay. I'm about to airbrush some color on here, so I can work with you on that one. Show.
Oh, jeez.
That's a fairly open-ended question because there can be a lot of things. Even a freshly cleaned airbrush doesn't guarantee the airbrush is clean. Nozzle constriction, use over time, and the skinning of paint inside the nozzle itself is generally a big issue because you wind up in a situation where you've got the hole, right? The cylinder that the paint travels through gets clogged. And even though you clean it, it could still have enough material in there to constrict it so that paint gets buckled up as you're trying to paint and will dry in there and cause clogging. Clogging is generally going to be an issue with the airbrush. Paint itself won't be the issue unless the paint has some hard particulates in it, which you would know. Your paint would not be liquid if that were the problem. So clogging is because of a constriction towards the needle end of the brush that is causing paint to back up, and then it'll continually try to cure inside the brush. Tip dry is a different thing, right? Not really clogging per se, but it can have the same effect as clogging, right? Because tip dry can make it to where eventually the paint doesn't come out of the nozzle at all because the needle is so clogged with paint. That can be bent needle. That can be too much air pressure in a dry climate because you just have too much air swirling around the nozzle as it's trying to siphon the paint out. And you're going to, the more air you apply, the more quickly the paint is going to want to cure. So there's that.
So Romeo is saying that the primer works amazing. I have a Galleria gun with a 3.0 nozzle, 0.3 nozzle maybe.
Okay.
I do a full teardown and run through the sonic cleaner.
Okay. So, couple of things, right? Obviously, the nozzle guard, I don't know on the Galleria, it may not have the same shroud like this one. This shroud's pretty constricted, so that's bad, but that's not going to clog. Let me back this needle out a little bit. Right? So this, right, the nozzle cover is where all the magic happens. So inside the chamber that is formed by this nozzle cover is where all of the horsepower of your brush occurs, right? So this piece, whatever your brush looks like, it has a small opening that's just a little bit bigger in diameter than the end of the nozzle. So it allows air to come around the outside diameter of the nozzle. This has to be unconstricted, right? So this causes a lot of problems sometimes. You might need to get a needle file or an old airbrush needle if you have one that is, was bent or unusable, right? We just use a small jeweler's needle file and get that in there and then just do a quick turning. You don't want to scrape the chrome off, so you don't want to use like the file portion of it, but you just want to be a toothpick works, right? You just want to be able to make sure that this, right, if I get it to where you can see it, that hole is always the size it's supposed to be. because paint can build up around the exterior of the hole and the inner surface of the hole and constrict that a little bit, and then the nozzle air won't come out, so it'll act like it's clogged. Because you'll see in the airbrush there are, see those holes? You see that little black hole there? 1, 2, 3 up there, and around here 4, 5, 6 holes around the circumference of the nozzle. That's where all the air in the chamber comes through, and it flows down the taper of the nozzle and then out of that little hole around the nozzle, and that's what siphons paint out. So it could be acting like a clog. I have to take this off every now and then and re-clean it if my airbrush isn't spraying right, or if I'm getting a lot of tip dry, because it can have a little bit of paint in that little hole right there. And as that little bit of air comes out, if it creates turbulence there, then it's smacking paint around in a weird way. You'll have a dot pattern on your model. It won't be a nice consistent cone spray. And that can cause paint to dry around the outside, which eventually will clog it up. So that's something to check. And then, of course, the nozzle itself. Like I said, the paint is rarely, if ever, the problem, especially if you're diluting it. It is something in the chamber and along the flow of your air. Anything from a bent needle can cause airflow to back up and cause turbulence around the front, which can cause paint to dry. But something generally from this forward section up is what's causing your clog. Now, it could be that you have paint clogged up in the chamber here, or dry flecks that are inside the chamber that are coming out, and dry flecks are getting stuck. But you would eventually work through that, I would think, if you're cleaning it, especially using a sonic cleaner.
So you're saying I run with the guard off, the Vallejo air goes through without issue, Pro-Curl causes sputtering. Didn't know if I had the wrong pressure.
Yeah, I mean, we spray at 22, but again, it shouldn't really be that big of an issue. We have people that spray our paints at 40 PSI. With no problem. It's really just what you're used to and how you handle it. Our paint is very pigment dense. Airbrush like Vallejo Air doesn't have much pigment in it. Let's just be honest. So you're taking a very pigment dense paint, artist grade paint in Pro-Acryl, and diluting it. So if you're having problems with it, dilute more aggressively. Try that. Use something more along the lines of a flow improver rather than just regular water. And see how that works for you. So you can try different mixes until you get it to where you're getting a nice consistent spray. I mean, I'll show you right now, but it's always kind of hard to judge because we're in Arizona. It's super dry here. Our humidity today is probably 7%, 6%. So
a little more,
still very, very dry.
19.
And we go at 22 to 25 PSI for our spraying. 0.3 needle on our own Grex, Workhorse XG model airbrush. So very similar to every other thing. There's nothing here that is magic or different. Medium-sized paint cup. Nothing. Fairly clean, but I haven't done anything special to clean it here recently. We just try to keep the brushes fairly clean internally. Let me get some dark purple out here. Or actually, I think I'll do royal purple. 98% and 90 Fahrenheit, yeah. Yeah, so you might want to up your pressure a little bit, depending on where you're spraying. So, I could see 30 PSI. Try that. But I'm just going to put paint right into the brush. I'm not even going to thin it. Now I have a little bit of water that'll be left over in the brush because I just cleaned the primer out. So that actually does have a lot of influence on how the brush sprays, because while I say the paint is right out of the pot, it is going to get thinned by that a little bit. I've really taken to liking royal purple instead of dark purple as my undercoat when I want to do some vibrant, bright colors. That's pretty good. I probably need a little, oh, I gotta get a little bit more out of it, looks like. That's pretty good. And we just clean with water. I don't use any solvents or cleaners in the studio as we're cleaning generally. It's legit just me spraying water in here. Best practices, use the eye cleaning bottle that we use here. It's a great way to get some fairly good water pressure going to squirt in there. And you'll see me do 3, 4, 5 squirts depending on the color until I generally am, while I'm squirting it in there, I don't get too much pigment in the water. And I'll do that and empty it, not pulling the trigger, not forcing any water through the body of the brush at this point. And then I'll take a napkin and very quickly just wipe out to get any skinning that happened along the top. The biggest detriment to you as a painter using liquid acrylics is that brief layer around the rim that starts to cure, right? Where the paint is at its thinnest is right as it lips up against the edge of the cup at the top. And so you'll get a little bit of skinning. And so you always want to wipe that off. You don't want to wash it down into the brush and then pull the trigger and blow air through, because that'll push all of that to your nozzle and it'll be really hard to clean out.
One thing I remember from when you were teaching me about the airbrush is that you use the paper towel to wipe it out, and then you rinse it again.
And then I rinsed it again there without running paper.
So that the little fibers.
Right.
Paper,
so because we use cheapo paper towels, so as you wipe it out, you don't want any fiber in there. So you saw me rinse it again and dump and rinse it and dump and rinse it and dump until it's clear again. Then when I get it filled up, then I go through and I start getting the rest of the pigment that's in the nozzle in the front of the chamber, the needle guide chamber out, and I'll just run a bunch of water through it. Really simple. This is the only process you really need to do in between colors and for standard practice. Then whenever you're done with a long session, right, then you can go through and soak it in like Simple Green, or if you want to run it through a sonic cleaner. I do not recommend sonic cleaners. I know this is a big dividing line in the airbrush community. Tons of people have used them for years, but with the shoddy chrome plating that companies are forced to use these days because they can't use nickel, copper, chrome plating anymore, whereas the nickel part would make it a lot harder. Now it's just generally like the copper plating and then the chrome. So the chrome is a lot more lightweight in most cases, and believe it or not, over time with cleaning and scraping and solvents and things to use to clean the brush, then when you put it into the agitating machine, right, it can work the chrome loose. And then you can have problems in your brush because you might have a little speck of chrome that's deformed, that's pulling away from the body of the brass or whatever metal has been chromed at that point, and that won't come off with cleaning, right? Becomes a deformation in the actual body of the brush, so the metal takes on a new dimension at that point. That can become a real problem. So I don't like sonic cleaners because of that, and I've just learned that working with sonic cleaners and lots of other chrome parts through motorcycles and jewelry and things like that. It's just not something I like. Sonic cleaners work really, really well with base metal parts. Like the part is made of is just 100% the material that you've got in there. It's not coated with anything unless you're trying to strip the coating off, because they do a very good job of that. So be careful with that.
Purple is intense. It looks like it's still coming out.
Yeah, royal purple is one of those pigments. Any of the blues typically will be like transparent blue is one of the hardest to clean out of the airbrush.
Romeo said, I thought fiber kept you regular and flowing better. It does.
Oh, yes.
You. Humans, not machines. Warpgate Studios said, hello, lovely people. Jason, your ears should have been burning yesterday as myself and Kenny B were discussing how much we love you guys.
Well, fantastic. I like that.
We like you guys.
Good to see you, Warpgate. We raided into Kenny yesterday. He was streaming on a Monday.
He's been streaming on Mondays.
Yeah. Need a little spritz of water, I think. I think I got more air bubble than paint when I put the jade in here, so we'll do that again. There we go. That's
it hurts really bad.
Huh?
I just hit my elbow on
It's not funny, is it?
No.
When you hit your funny bone, it's not funny. You okay? You all right?
It just hurts. It's that gross, like, oh. Feel it in your stomach. Wow, why does it linger?
That nerve bundle that's right there, right? It's like, no bueno. I would like to not do that again.
If parts other than your ears are burning, you should seek medical attention. That is true.
Really cool iridescent look we get with the jade and the royal purple. If parts other than your ears are burning, you should seek medical attention. Well, describe burning, because medical attention might not be the right thing to seek. You might ought to seek stop, drop, and roll.
Oh, yeah. I guess if you're literal burning, like for those of you in our Discord, the guy that works for Jade.
Oh yeah, somebody caught on fire.
Literally
That's not even funny.
Stop, drop, and roll. They still teach that?
Like that. I'm just making it up as I go. We're just doing fun stuff today. Little palette cleanser, little quick whammy. Again, we'll just do the same thing. I'm not mixing anything. I'm not diluting the paint with anything here other than the water left over from the last cleaning pass on the brush. So, mainly because I'm looking for vibrant colors in one pass. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this guy. So, if you know, the more you thin, the less opacity you have on your paint, and the less opacity you have, the more layers you're going to have to build up to get back to that vibrancy of the paint, because lowered opacity reduces vibrancy.
Wild Tomato, yeah, Jade talked about it in Discord. Check main chat. Soothsayer said, does anyone have a trick to better gauge how much paint is left in the pot, besides just waiting till nothing comes out? Almost done with my army, but my warm yellow is starting to feel light. You'd hear the agitator more if there's less paint in it.
Yeah.
You'll definitely feel the agitator when you shake it, because it's a pretty...
I mean, you can take the top off and look in there.
Yeah, that's true. You can also do that. That's what Papa Chicken said.
Use a toothpick like a dipstick.
Yeah, like an oil dipstick.
Get yourself a piece of sprue or a toothpick or something and dip it in there and see if it's important to you like that. Want to know if it's time to buy a new bottle? I usually find out. Now, here's where being on this side of the fence is very lucky, in that I find out I'm out of paint when I go to put paint on the palette and it doesn't have any.
I think that's what Soothsayer's trying
And then I
to
throw a
avoid.
mild tantrum, and someone gets me a bottle.
Gabe, get me a bottle of paint.
Someone gets me a bottle of paint, and we go to town. I'm going to do ultramarine blue next. What do you think?
Ooh, I like this color though right now with the purple and what is it, jade?
Royal purple and jade. Super basic.
I like it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, right? It's what we did with like the Death Guard sort of. The royal purple has a little bit more punch than the dark purple at this stage, so it's kind of nice, right? So it's building up a zenithal, but doing it with color as opposed to just white over black, and letting those colors, you know, over the black be a little bit more desaturated, darker, which is awesome.
And what is this model?
What is what?
The model?
Polar bear guy.
Oh, is it for? It's just one that you like, or is it for something?
It's Hank. Hank the
Hank.
polar bear guy.
We've already had a Hank.
Oh, we have?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hank and Lydia.
Hank and Lydia. Hank the mall cop.
I always gravitate to the same names. This is Schlemiel. Schlemiel, the polar bear warrior.
Disgraced Spear. Jordan does that all the time. Disgraced. Said, lost the tip of my airbrush just as the airbrush conversation started. Cleaning it out, it decided to jump out of my fingers and run away to be lost forever.
Yes.
It's there somewhere. You might have to lay down on the floor and get down at eye level. That's what I had to do to help Jordan find it one day.
I like Hugo. We could go with Hugo.
Hugo. Oh.
It's a Hugo. He
Polly
feels like
the polar bear.
a Hugo.
Polly the polar bear is a good name too.
Ultramarine. Schlemiel. Schlemazel, not Schlavato.
That's the Laverne and Shirley.
I think it's Schlemiel Schlemazel.
Yeah, it is.
Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated.
Pfeffer Incorporated
was the beer company, right? That made whatever the beer was called.
No, I don't know.
I don't remember what the beer was called. Does anybody remember what the beer was called?
On Laverne and Shirley? I don't
Yeah.
remember what the brewery. Google knows.
Not Schlotz. It was something like that.
I don't know.
Say whatever, you got the joke. You know what I was talking about.
Laverne and Shirley was one of my all-time favorite shows.
It was one that came out of Happy Days.
Yeah.
Lenny and Squiggy.
Shots Brewery.
Shots.
Yeah.
And it was like like Schlitz.
Yeah.
Malt liquor.
Milwaukee. Yeah, it's a fictional factory born of Milwaukee's beer-centric reputation with a name not too far away from the city's own Schlitz, the beer that made Milwaukee famous. Gabe said, Jason, I hate to be that guy, but polar bears usually aren't blue.
Polar bears aren't what?
Blue.
I don't buy your. I don't believe your lies.
Unless it's a Care Bear, polar bear.
That's totally fake news.
Yeah, Romeo, we were just talking about Mork and Mindy the other day and how it was a spin-off of Happy Days. Disgrace, you spent 20 minutes looking, you even dug out your trash to check the bottom. Search again after you pick up your wife from work, but I should order some extra replacement parts anyway. A sad polar bear is blue.
I went to a good school. I know everything in the Arctic is blue.
Blue is cold.
Gabe went to Arizona school, so what do they know?
Joni loves Chachi. Yep, completely underrated show.
Arizona schools don't even know what ice is.
Hey, we have a hockey team at ASU. They also aren't usually jacked AF and wearing armor, but this one is clearly special.
Purple. Blue. And the jade just gives us a nice kind of in-between mid-tone color that stands out nicely.
Chuck and Jade, we were just talking about your, Jade, we were talking about Jade's fire.
You know, I'm going to leave. Am I going to leave this in?
Did he stop, drop, and roll, Jade, is the question that we were wanting to know?
I'm going to clean it up.
And also, we had the question of, well, I had the question of, do they still teach stop, drop, and roll? Gabe, did you learn about stop, drop, and roll in school?
Gabe, did they tell you if a nuclear war was to happen to get under your desk?
Probably not. They did. Okay, so stop, drop, and roll is still a thing. Still the best practice.
Jen and I are going to date ourselves. They told us we could hide under our desk.
I don't remember that, but we had tornado drills.
Same thing. Get under your desk.
Get under your desk. One of the other guys came to my office door and was like, so, who's on fire?
Yeah, I don't feel like that was a good day for anybody involved.
Definitely thought that stop, drop. I've never once in my life had to stop, drop, and roll. Thank goodness. But yeah, like quicksand, it's one of those things. You think it's going to be a bigger issue. You're going to see more people. Because they've really drilled that into our heads.
TikTok did not get the message on what stop, drop, and roll was actually for.
No?
No.
Are they setting
It became like a dance.
The fire dude was just going to leave and not say anything to me. That's great.
I love it when stuff like that happens, and the person that it happened to is like, oh, it was no big deal. What do you mean it was no big deal? According to so-and-so, you were on fire. Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen again. No, it won't.
Sounds like Jason is at the dentist's office. You should come sit up in Gabe and Christopher's office, Philip. So you can hear it from their point of view, which is the compressor every 5 minutes. Machine shop pretty boring today, Chuck? That's always a good day. A boring day is a good day at the machine shop.
I was going to say, there's certain jobs where you don't want it to be, like, exciting. It's like I got to a meeting this morning that was over across town, and somebody asked me, what has happened to you that was exciting today? And I was like, it was Chris Spear, because he was there.
He was there.
And I was like, Chris, let me explain to you that it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm very happy that nothing has been exciting yet.
Yes.
Because I had to drive from Central Phoenix to over here, so I'm really glad that I've had zero excitement in my life this morning. The most exciting thing was the dog barking at her breakfast, and I'm fine with that. I don't need anything more exciting than that.
The ASU hockey team is most certainly called the Sun Devils, not the Southern Utah University Hockey Club. You guys you took our Coyotes, gave them a terrible name. Not stealing my
They're just called the Utah Hockey Club. The most boring jerseys in the history of hockey. Utah, it says on it. Lockdown drills.
Yeah. I assume they probably still have to have tornado drills in places that have tornadoes. But lockdown drills are definitely. Vector wants to know if is it impossible to make a fluorescent blue?
No. I mean, we have one. We didn't just choose to sell it because our like ultramarine and all these other blues are much better, so it's not a very usable paint. Blue as a color does not fluoresce as well as the other ones just because of the frequency of light it's trying to produce. So it becomes a big issue in that regard. I say big issue. It's not a big issue. It's just not a good paint. And because our paint said it was that, okay, well, we could release 7, and if we're going to release 7 colors, then we might as well go to 9, and there's nothing else really good in the fluorescents. And they're an effect paint. They're not a paint you find yourself using all the time. So having the blue wasn't important to us. We developed that line for the vibrancy, not for the ability to glow in UV light. They glow in UV light, but they were meant to be vibrant colors first. So, when you look at it from that perspective, it's less of a, how to put it? It's less of a issue, I suppose, to not have the blue, because we have sky blue, ultramarine, transparent blue. All of those give you a much better result. So I'm going to mix up some wizard's butt.
Teeny tiny victories, hello.
What's going on? It was important for your Shatterpoint minis? You were hoping to have them UV. I didn't build it for the UV stuff because I don't feel like that's a way we might photo our models that way, but it's not a way that we ever really get to utilize the model well. You know, you're not going to be playing your game in the dark under UV light very often. If you are, then yeah, that's just not something I built them for.
Captain Mannerings.
What did Source Does say? Gabe put it on the whiteboard.
No.
Couple drops. I don't need a lot of this.
Oh, Wizard's Butt, the only pro curl paint that's ass.
That is not going on the whiteboard. We can't do anything with that, Gabe.
If it goes on the whiteboard, it's gonna get erased. Derpstick used our fluorescent green to give a glow to the goggles on an orc. And
nice.
It looks really nice. Gonna go to some blacklight mini golf place and bring my 4x6 table and all my fluoro painted.
That could be cool. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, the fluorescents were meant to be able to give you really quick down and dirty OSL. You can just do a really quick layer of transparent white or even bold titanium white, and then do one of the fluorescents over the top, and you just get superb glow. That's what they were built for. Just a really quick, easy way to get some effects that might otherwise give you hassles. So a lot of people have asked for a blue. We have one. I don't think I'll ever release it. I just don't see a need for it. We could do a Wizard's Butt that is fluorescent blue.
Mm.
So it'd be just a limited edition.
I don't think people would be happy about that.
Huh?
I don't think people would be happy about that.
No?
Schmidt, you missed it. We had a poop joke earlier from Gabe. Wondering if the kid, he's young enough that you could possibly be his mom, is going to stay. He's been struggling with the quality of his welding, not very efficient. Earlier today he made a comment that this type of work might be outside his skill level. This might be the universe telling him to move on. Sometimes that's what it takes. Set yourself on fire. I don't recommend it though.
Yeah, if you're a welder, you probably shouldn't be catching yourself on fire too often. Although, as a person who has welded quite a bit, I have also been on fire. And in many cases, it was due to the welding. The welding slag, as a matter of fact, when welding upside down, typically not your best friend.
Captain Danhammer, thank you. Said, I just got my pro krills in yesterday and wanted to say, number one, holy hell, they are amazing. It's like cheating. Never going back to GW. Number two, can someone play me into the Wizard Butt joke? I found a sticker in the box, but was sad to see no actual bottle of Wizard's Butt. So, go to our YouTube and watch the video. Let me see what it's called. I think it's something like Everybody Loves a Commercial or something is the name of the video.
While I
watch
taunt you
the
on
whole
screen.
Thing, and toward the end, Wizard's Butt will make sense to you.
It's us having a joke and poking fun at all the other companies with their silly names.
Because if you've gotten our paints, you've noticed probably that our colors are called like blue, green, orange. So Wizard's Butt is a little call out to some of those colors that are not so obviously named. Let's see what else here. Did you stop, drop, and roll when you were welding and caught on fire?
Me?
Jason? Yeah.
I was upside down. So no. There was no place to drop when you're lying on the ground welding facing upwards. So you just kind of do this weird.
You weren't hanging upside
this
down,
weird
like
beat the flame out thing.
Oh, thank you, Gabe. Gabe posted the link, Captain Dan Hammer, so you don't even need to hunt for it. But you should definitely still look at our YouTube because there's some good stuff.
I have, however, I've been on fire in other positions. I've had gasoline on my jeans catch fire.
Yeah, that's what Jade brought up, is in a shop like that, is it safe to drop and roll? Because if there's a flammable liquid and you roll into the flammable liquid, then you're in a worse situation probably.
Could very well be, right?
Nova Orange, Sugar Rush is asking if Nova Orange is limited for the year or if it will be around forever.
So our intent right now is that it will be around for the foreseeable future. I like the color. We didn't really plan it in a way that I have a significant answer for you, but yeah, I would assume it's going to be a part of the line forever.
Game Delay said they will be unhappy about every Wizards Butt color that we don't personally own. Release the fluorescent blue, it won't be any worse than purple or yellow Wizards Butt. Paint liquor, hello. Yep, pants blue.
What do you think? I like it.
Tomato, who said, Jason, you are a bastard and a hussy. Just waving your butts around on stream like that. Pretty rude.
I'm breaking all sorts of terms of service over here.
Pre-drop. Bud sees the green on the label with yellow and purple. Is this the sign of a green wizard's butt? Wizard's butts just happen. We can't plan for them.
Nope.
So maybe. But also maybe not.
I've been on fire in other positions. I told you, I got gasoline. It soaked into my jeans on a motorcycle run. And at one point in time, sitting by the fire and had my legs up on a rock, sitting by the fire late at night. And a spark hit my jeans and just caught my jeans on fire. If you buy good jeans, it's not a big deal. You just beat the fire out and go back to sitting by the fire.
Chuck caught your beard on fire? Hard turning on a manual lathe.
I have luckily never caught any hair on fire. I have had friends catch lots of hair on fire. Had a backfire or through the carburetor stack on motorcycles before, and invariably somebody is working on said carburetor and is probably up close to it looking at the butterfly and all the parts and, you know, running it, and it will do a little bit of a burp with a flame and singe eyebrows and beard hairs and things like that, which is always fun.
Some of us like Jason showing off his wizard's butt. Well, Tomato, don't ruin it for the rest of us. Don't be that guy.
Hey, we don't kink shame around here. Were your friends who caught on fire in low places too? I mean, you know me, right? Do you think that we've ever been highbrow? Yeah, Sugar Rush. Ask Gabe. Gabe put it together for me. Gabe has not put any of the rest of them together after building this one, so.
Oh, not a good, fun experience?
No.
Oh.
The COcast is not a great thing. More and more, I think people are finding that out. It was a good rush to be able to have smaller businesses with less capability of investing in, injection molding, be able to turn out miniatures, and it's great. I love that, right? The economy of it is fantastic. I'm a big fan, but at the end of the day, it is a shame because the quality of the resin still isn't as good as we want it to be, and it shrinks a lot in the mold. So your parts can't be engineered properly to then fit together very well, or you have to learn COCast, SIOCast, however you want to call it, very, very well and engineer specifically for it. So your parts where the connections are a little bloated, so that when the shrinkage occurs, that they'll still fit together. Keying, joints, and stuff becomes a real problem. You get gaps in the shoulders and stuff. Right. These are all COCast. It's one of the biggest form factors you could do COCast in is like our Rhino that we've been working on. These are some models for a game that we're prototyping. And you can see how the area where the gun and the shoulder come together leaves a big gap. There are big gaps along where the tabard goes into the body on the front and the back. Those keys were hard to engineer and have them work right. You had to do a little bit of filling. Areas where, like the shoulder, we use this strap as a place to key the shoulder in, and you can see the shoulder has those gaps along there. It's just that compound edge is very hard for COCast to keep true in the molding process. So it's one of the things why we put a bunch of this on hold, because we're not 100% satisfied with it. It's not horrible. We could get away with a model like this, and but I don't know. We love the model, obviously, but I don't know that the overall quality was what we were looking for. So.
There's shrinkage. Do they know about shrinkage?
It's great for single part miniatures like this guy. Right? This is another guy from our game. And, he is really good. One of the problems is that its flexibility, like this joining part here where we had to stabilize the sword going across the back of the head. Not only does the sculpt has it run a little too far into the head there, but it also means that now that shrinkage has pulled this warp into it. And because of the way the resin is, you can't really ever get it to bend correctly. So there's some engineering things we got to take a look at. So we're still learning. But it holds good detail, believe it or not. I mean, the detail is really nice. It's I think that the detailing is on par with, or nearly on par with, metal. So that's nice. It doesn't have a tremendous amount of cleanup. There are some places where you get a little bit of burring on the mold, but the mold is usually pretty good. So not a lot of cleanup. It doesn't tool as well. So if you do have to cut it with a knife, it tends to feel a little bit more like PVC. So, it's got its inherent issues, but I think that as the technology keeps going, that there can be some really great things happen with it. There's already some great models out there and companies using it to produce things they wouldn't have been able to produce if they had to do it with molded plastics. Molded plastics are super expensive, so.
Collins39, thank you for the follow, and Vector, thank you for the sub from earlier that I missed.
Pop Chicken, exactly, yeah. The trade-offs for cost of manufacture on this is very light, comparatively speaking. So it allows you to, do, like I said, allow companies to do some things they wouldn't normally be able to do. The same thing, the long spear is just going to be too rubbery. It's going to be like, toys at Target. That kind of cheaper Chinese board game plastic feel, which doesn't really bode well. It's nice because it won't break, right? But it also will be wobbly. So, like we probably wouldn't do this model in this position. We would probably do it to where the spear was being held upright, and shorter, or just change away from spears altogether. These guys were intended to have power spears, and we'd probably just switch away from that altogether.
Jade just said that Chuck had to buy a new shelf, the Cubby style, for all his Battletech, and he is blaming you.
Blaming me?
Yeah.
Well, do what you gotta do, Chuck. I'll take that blame. Paint liquor, you can't take us anywhere. We are horrible. I love it. This stream, I swear.
I swear.
As long as my kids are alive, I don't need to know. Exactly. All right, I think we're off to a good start. I like these colors. I think we probably do...
He has a really long ponytail.
Yeah, he does.
Kind of jealous.
It's like all of that hair is out of that one little connector spot, too. Yeah, this model is actually engineered very well, but it suffers from some of the same problems, like where it doesn't fit together as it goes in. Like the horn, you can see has a big disconnect on the way the horn in the body. But it's a lot better. It's better than ours were, because the team at Corvus Belli has been working with this material for quite some time for Infinity and now Warcrow, so they've got a good feel for it. Right? It's got a little bit of a mold line there, but
we get just a pad of palette paper on Amazon. You have the pad over there that you can show the front.
What's that?
Palette paper?
No, it's out on my mixing desk.
Oh, I can go grab it.
Oh, the gray, yeah. It's called Gray Matters. Gray Matters. This is the 9x12. Yeah, the 9x12. I'm using the bigger 11 or 12 by 17 over here folded up, but we use the Gray Matters palettes just off of Amazon. It's sometimes really hard because they don't carry the sizes very consistently. They always have like the 6x9, which I find to be fairly useless, except for traveling. It goes really well in the Neo bag and is great for that, but it can be a real pain to have to deal with a super small palette. Run out of space real quick.
You've never seen... I was on there yesterday, and was I also there today? No, I think it was just yesterday. And I've painted on stream many times. Papa Chicken has a question. So you have a two-tone paint scheme on a mini. Would you see value in using a different color of newsh for each color before doing an overall color to unify the scheme as a whole? You want to read that? It's this one right here.
I may need more clarification because I don't think I'm following. Would you use newsh to do what now?
Doesn't say. Papa Chicken, we need a little more clarification on that, I think.
Two-tone paint job, use newsh. Would you see value in using a different color of newsh for each color before doing an all-over color to unify this scheme? You could. I guess it depends on what those two colors are. I would probably be lazy and say you'd be better off to just use the unifying color to draw them together, but I don't know what you're going for, right? So, like, if you wanted to do something that was more of a yellow on one side that would really want a brown, right? Maybe to pull it together, and then on the other side you did a green or something that didn't want a brown, maybe. Is that what you're talking about?
Don Gibson, I need my steps. It's okay.
So I could see that, right? And then you could pull them together with a black or something like that, maybe.
Romeo said another newbie painter question. I hear from YouTubers never use sable brushes for speed paints or metallics. Then I watch some of the top YouTubers use their Monument Hobbies, Artist Opus, and Windsor brushes to brush metallics and washes. Just clean them. You gotta clean your brushes real well. And
yeah, take care of your brushes. You can use them for anything. It is a smart way to introduce people to painting, to say, hey, you probably do want to take better care of your more expensive brushes. So take the word sable out of there. There are synthetics that are just as expensive. If you take your high quality, high cost brushes you know, until you really learn how to take care of them and feel comfortable with your maintenance of your tools, then yeah, because those processes can ruin a tool very quickly, and then you might have a feels bad moment. So I think that's why that becomes a taught thing. But once you feel like you're comfortable in your processes for cleaning tools, then no, it's not an issue. You can use whatever brush you want for whatever you want. Metallics, all liquid acrylic paints will draw up into the ferrule, which is this metal part that holds the bristles to the handle. This is called the brush head. And whenever you put your bristles into liquid paint, that liquid through capillary action draws up into the brush. And you can see most of it, and it usually stops about, an 1/8 of an inch down, like you see the color on my brush right now. But as you go thinner and thinner, that brush draws up, and you'll see this kind of dark shadow along the base. Some of it's not so dark, it's like light colored paint. That's paint buildup in the ferrule. And as you get that more and more and it dries, it starts to constrict the bristles and keeps your brush from forming a point. So it is a big concern that you want to watch out for, but you can clean it and not have that problem. Metallics have a solid component in the mica or aluminum flake that is making it metallic, and that solid component getting into the ferrule, really bad, not a good plan. So you just gotta be careful with all that. But we make a brush soap for that. Jen invented a brush soap that cleans brushes miraculously, so you wind up, causing yourself some harm by doing that, you can always clean it. Just take care of your stuff.
Nick from Grey Primer said, do you think you could make that tactical rock a semi-precious stone, like amethyst or quartz?
Yeah, like I was thinking quartz would be kind of neat. I could do like a milky white over the top of it would be kind of neat. I don't ever think about the base this early on unless it's like some huge part of the model. I'm not a fan of tactical rocks, but I figured it'd just be a rock by the time I'm done.
Papa Chicken said, red and white two-tone Battletech Mini. The white is some chunky freehand. I was thinking I could use the noosh to skip the dark lining step. So maybe a bluish color in the white and then a warm brown for the reds. Would that create interesting volumes on the panels?
It's going to depend on what your unifying color is, right? If your unifying color is like a brown or a black, then it might not make a difference. You might wind up covering all that up anyway. So, I'm always on the lookout for what the end game that you're going for is. I think with white and red on Battletech for scale, that I probably wouldn't waste the time that you're talking about investing. I would probably just hit it with like a brown if you're going for dirty, because that'll look good on both white and red. But again, it depends. If you're going for like, parade ready, super clean mechs, then you may not want to use a brown. At which point in time, yeah, you might use two colors and then just a light, glaze of black over the top of them to give it some shading later on.
Romeo, thank you for saying that. Romeo said, I've learned more on one stream than I have in a month from other videos. We try really to encourage people to watch our stream if they ever contact us through our support with questions or commenting on social media or sending us messages on Facebook. Anytime people have questions, we really encourage them to come to the stream and watch it, because you just can't beat the live Q&A. Like, it's so valuable. So,
well, and you're getting it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah,
Jen and I
exactly.
are the owners of the company.
He makes it.
To give
He
you
makes all the paint.
an idea. And we've been doing this for coming up on 9 years, where we just love to paint with the crowd. And regardless of what product you're using, if you're using Pro Acryl, then obviously we can help you dramatically, because we can use the paint the same way you're trying to use it, right in front of you, live. No tricks of the YouTube camera or anything like that. And we stand behind everything we do. But if you're using another brand's paint and you just want to learn how to do a new technique, come on down. No question is off the table with us. We love all of them.
Yeah.
Our goal is to help you become more confident with your painting just in general. So,
like Papa Chicken saying too, that you also get the benefit of hearing other people's questions that can be very enlightening.
Yeah.
Because you don't think about to ask,
One
things you don't think to ask.
100,000,000%.
Paint liquor, that's not true.
I don't know that Paint Liquor's ever said anything that was true. I'm just going to go out on a limb. That's his. What is this? Dark hot pink may be too much. I'm thinking I want dark magenta. But will it be too dark? Let's try dark hot pink. It seems super bright, but if I filter it down a lot, maybe this will work. Paint liquor is a liar after all. Yes.
Look at that.
I'm using dark hot pink. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. You've learned a ton from other people's questions, Papa Chicken? Definitely. I think that, you know, we always hope that our Discord and our stream are just as valuable for the people who never ask a question as they are for those who do. Because, you know, especially in the world of nerddom, right? We're not all go-getters. We're not all out there to, you know, be loud and, you know, boisterous and ask all our questions. Some people are very introverted, and they even are introverted on the internet where typing out, you don't want to be made a fool of or told that's a dumb question. And I think a lot of people, we've tried to build an environment with all of our community that is open for all those people that don't have the nerve to type their question. Hopefully we get to your question. I think the big thing is that you can always feel safe to ask your question around here, because there are no dumb questions. That's a lot of people toss that out there, but in reality, there aren't any dumb questions when it comes to art, because art is controlling chaos. There's always something to be found in every question, even if it's, you know, which end of the brush do I use, you know? The question's always, or the answer's always, it depends. Like right now, the end of the brush I'm about to use is the wrong end, right? Because I'm going to mix paint, so I'm going to use this end.
Can you eat the paint? No. I mean, you can. We don't recommend it. We don't want you to. We would rather you use the paint for its actual intended purpose, which is to put color on your models and make them look cool. Right? It's like, what is this thing over here on the side that we're seeing? Does Pro Acryl Primer clog my airbrush as much as Vallejo Black Primer?
Shouldn't. We just primed a lot today.
Anakin, you don't even have to add any. In fact, you should not add any thinner. Yes, we strongly advise against eating the paint. Thank you, T. Schmidt. You're able to go to a convention or show the monument is at. They are seriously nice people. I mean, I guess they're fine.
Depends on which crew you
Depends
get.
on which crew. It's been the same crew for the last couple of shows. They do a great job.
I basically created a wash out of this with using the glazed wash medium and the dark hot pink, and then just a bunch of water. And so it allows me to go through and just kind of poke it into folds here and there to get a little bit of that reddish.
Vector, I'm looking forward to meeting you. I'm really excited about my trip.
Yeah, Jen hasn't been, she's been griping about not being able to go to shows for a while, and now she's going to Essen, so that's going to be great. Totally different kind of show.
Yeah.
And in Europe. I'm jealous.
Mr. Shankly said, Jason, when you're approaching a model like this, how do you decide on the colors? I wish I understood color a little more.
Oh boy. Chat, who wants to break the news to him? I have no idea. I'm a bastion of chaos. I start models thinking, you know what? I want this guy to be more blue than just plain white, but we'll work it up to where we get the idea of white fur somehow. I don't always know what that means. Like, I'm just exploring in color a lot of times. It's what keeps painting really fun for me. Whereas Jordan is a great dichotomy to this, because Jordan really loves going with the uniform box art kind of flair. And so he will spend a lot of time, on models, making them look familiar. And so he already knows going in. He doesn't have to do a lot of planning, because he paints things that, he already likes and has a flair for. So he'll paint, I see a Daredevil model over there on his bench, right? So he may paint Daredevil, and he already knows what Daredevil is supposed to look like, obviously. So it could be all sorts of neat stuff going on there. Whereas me, I kind of approach every model in a general sense of chaos. Like I said, I know that Blood Angels are intended to be red, so if I'm going to paint Blood Angels red, because I don't want to, smear the canon or something like that, I want to stay true to, what everybody believes a Blood Angel is supposed to look like, then that's doable. But what can I do to make red a little bit more interesting? And so I might go and, if you don't understand color as well as you think you ought to, then just go look, Google like red. Google red metal or red armor, and see all the various red or red cars. You might find something out there that has a little bit of a weird iridescence to it with like some purple underneath, and then you come up with a really great way to do red. In doing my Blood Angels, it was all about doing a very dark Payne's gray, which is a bluish tone in my shadows, and then using dark plum as my mid-tone, so to speak, my darker red, and then just going bold pyro red right over the top of that. So I get this very aggressive red that has a really good contrast into the shadows, because I have this weird, cool shadow that doesn't feel cool. It doesn't feel blue when you look at it, but the blue has a big impact, as opposed to like a mahogany or a darker red, right, or a dark brown. So you can come up with ways that are fun, that just keep you on target. You're not going to wind up with something really funky. And then there's other times where it's just like, I don't know, let's just pull together something crazy, So I took a view of Pascal Blanche, who is a painter that I really enjoy his work, and he uses a bunch of really bright, vivid colors, and then uses red as like an impact spot. And so we, totally nabbed his style for this guy. This is a super simple 4-color scheme, maybe 5 colors, right? Some dark blue, some jade, right? It's a lot of the same colors I'm using on this guy, just blending differently. So that we can get a feel for like an OSL spaceman kind of attitude here. So there's a lot of times where just playing with color can really find some inspiration for the piece, or just for your own. I'm using this as a palette cleanser, we'll call it, because I've been working on this guy who's very monochromatic, right? I'm adding colored nuances in here, oranges and greens and browns and reds and things like that, but it's all very desaturated palette, because it's that I'm going for that more, I don't know if I want to call it realistic, but that out in the forest feel where all the wood isn't, there's not a lot of leaves in this. They didn't present me with a lot of the lively organics. They presented me with a wooden stump, and then the same kind of wooden armor or chitin on him. So I went into a realm of browns and some Caucasian flesh tones and stuff to keep it on hue. And then I'm using the little gem on his head, the burgundy robe or, tabard that he's got, and then a little punch of the dark sea bin for the metallic. So I have this weird seafoam green metallic going on as some spots of color, but none of them really become, super eye-catching and draw yourself away from the model on a whole. So I'm doing something like this, then a lot of times I'll say, okay, well, I want to paint with something a little bit more vibrant, so let's do something crazy. Let's go on with purples and blues and turquoises and things like that for a polar bear. Which doesn't make any sense, but who cares?
Bud said, they say trust the process, but it's watching you explaining the process that has helped me grow.
Great. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because the whole paint bravely, have no fear, that's all great. And I believe it, and I'll tell it to you too. I preach it. But you also have to know some rules, have to understand why things work the way they do, so that you can go break those rules. And so studying color, studying value, studying how light plays around on surfaces is a key component to then going and not doing that, right? Or doing it in your own way. Like the Pascal Blanche stuff is amazing because the sci-fi vignettes that the guy creates are so amazing. You can tell the influences that Pascal has in like the Boris Vallejo and what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank here? Frazetta, right? Like Frank Frazetta. And that type of old fantasy and sci-fi artwork. You can see the influence in Pascal stuff, but Pascal takes really bold yellows, oranges, teals, turquoise, jades, that kind of a color palette, and turns these worlds upside down by having that be the color of the ambient light. The ambient light in his picture may be jade. And so everything in it is not under the same sun that you and I grew up on. And it just puts a totally different feel to the entire piece. And that's just playing with color. But you could tell that if you said, hey, Pascal, paint me something real, the guy would know how to paint real light with real coloration like you're used to seeing outside. It just doesn't strike his fancy, I would assume. And that's, I've only gotten a chance to speak to Pascal a couple of times on his Discord. And an amazing guy and really rabid fan base. I think he's French-Canadian. But his use of color is fantastic. It's always been an inspiration to me. But not something inspiring in the way that he has done it to step outside the norm with his artwork. Not inspiring in that I want to copy those colors. I do love all of those colors. But it's so visually pronounced. It's like trying to copy Keith Haring, right? If you like Keith Haring's anatomical stick figure artwork is great. But if you wanted to then go do that, you'd be ripping off Keith Haring. It'd be a blatant rip. So I think the inspiration for me comes from the boldness of just jumping into colors that don't necessarily make sense.
Breakup Google said, are you guys willing to do a color theory book? I just got a color theory book that AK Interactive put out, How to Work with Colors and Transitions with Acrylics. Good book, but bad translation in parts.
I have thought about this. At one point in time, I got approached about doing a painting book that didn't really go anywhere. I think it was by a person who had all the best intentions, but none of the abilities to get it done. And, unfortunately, we don't have the bandwidth to just go and make that book. I would love to work with somebody, but again, it would be talking about those things that we're talking about now, exploration and color, rather than the standard color wheel, because there are fantastic resources out there for you to go learn color and learn the Martian color wheel, whatever you want to learn about standard art color principle, I think works great. My theory has been all along that as soon as you start painting that in 3 dimensions underneath realistic light, a lot of that goes out the gate because you start dealing with saturation and value and not just hue. And the color theory portion of it just takes into account hue in most cases. Not that that's bad, but it places a lot of emphasis on which colors you choose to put next to what other colors. Like if we were sitting around planning this miniature and I sat down and I said, okay, I'm going to use ultramarine and royal purple, right? And jade and wizard's butt, right? And maybe a pink, and then I'm probably going to do some sort of an orangey brown and all of that. And somebody might look at this and say, oh, that breaks so many rules. Why would you choose those colors? Those colors will not make an appealing piece in the end if those are your primaries, right? Because they'll give you something that says this color doesn't fit the mix. It doesn't work very well with the rest of them. Go with something brighter. Right? And I'd be like, no, because I will make it work, because in the real world, the color wheel only goes so far, because as you desaturate colors, which it's called the hue saturation value, the HSV cylinder. We used to have it to where we could pull it up in the deal. It may still be there. Let me steal the mouse from you, Jen. We may still have it on here someplace. I don't know. There it is. right? So this is the HSV cylinder. This is the color wheel brought into 3 dimensions. And I don't mean that in the serious sense, because the color wheel in 3 dimensions makes no sense. But what it does is it shows you your color wheel around the perimeter, right? Your standard pie chart. But then what it does is it takes value from top to bottom of the cylinder. You'll see at the bottom is your 0 value black. And at the top, what it would be showing is white, right? Is that complete saturation of value at the very top end. They won't show that because then you wouldn't be able to see the colors in the pie chart at the top. But you notice how the center of the wheel is white. So you go from black at the lowest value to white at the highest value. Then your colors exist in that spectrum, both for additive and subtractive mixing. And you can see that as my saturation of those colors goes towards the middle, I get gray. Right, so that when that slice out of the pie, you go from white to, at the top, black to the bottom, and in the middle of it is that gray band. Every color, as you desaturate, it starts to work with every other color, right? Well, especially when you're starting to paint war miniatures, scale models, things where you're looking for more realism, you start going in that direction of desaturation. Because it's very rare in the real world under normal ambient light from a sun to get super vibrant colors, right? Because there's too much absorption of sunlight that's a different color frequency and illumination from different directions that it desaturates the color, right? It's like looking at a brightly polished gold car, right? Well, you're not going to see a whole lot of gold. It's going to be the brightness of the white that's really impacting you, correct? So the vibrancy of the gold is lost until you see it in the perfect lighting in a garage and it's made for photo taking. And so every color works together regardless of the principal, primaries, tertiaries, and all those mixing things that come in with color theory as you start bringing light into the equation. And since we're painting 3-dimensional objects that are intended to be more like a photograph, a still moment in life of this miniature, then all of a sudden every color's on the plate. You don't have to worry so much about it. Now, you could say, okay, well, let's go ahead and,
Oops.
Where was I at? Oh, I was on this one.
If I push, there we go.
I just like that. So, every color is on the palette here. I can use colors that wouldn't typically work well together because every color can work well together if I dilute them enough, desaturate them enough, which happens through dilution, or by adding white or black or gray, you desaturate a color instantaneously through tint, tone, and shade. So if you learn those principles, right, then every color is easier to pick because you can choose whatever you want. You can say, hey, I wish I had a little bit of yellow in here because your brain says that would look cool, and you don't have to worry about the rules. You paint a little bit of yellow in there. And if it's too vibrant and looks out of place in clown suit, then desaturate a little bit. And you can still get the feel of yellow even where you wouldn't have put a bright yellow. So, Boshek, what the heck?
Hello.
Crawled out from under the bed.
Yeah. Papa Chicken, maybe, but we're not officially accredited, so they will not transfer.
You'd like to see it as a sphere. It doesn't work as a sphere because the reason why the HSV cylinder is made in a cylinder shape is because it has a linearity in the scale of value. That's a linear scale from black to white. So that solid outside of the cylinder is the only thing that works. In a sphere, it wouldn't work as well as a visual. Do you have a good book you could recommend? The book I'm talking about mentions those items you just did, but it uses weird translations from the Spanish version, so I can't be sure what they mean. Oh boy, I'm horrible at this. Recommendation of books.
Maybe people in chat have some.
Yeah, I would ask around. So here's where it's a do as I say, don't do as I do, because I've never gotten along well with formal painting and color theory, and it's because I'm a chaos god, right? I'm part of the cult of chaos of art. I don't care. I know enough about the rules to know how to apply them, but I don't go study the rules anymore. I did that years and years and years ago, and now I just spend time trying to break the rules, right? And do fun stuff, because that's where I find my inspiration for painting. So it's very selfish, right? But there are lots of good materials out there, and you can definitely find some art books that are not through foreign translations, right? There is there's a book called The Theory of Color in... I want to say it's in practice, the theory of color in practice, or the theory of color in reality, or I don't remember. it speaks a lot like how I'm speaking, but it's been decades, so it may not even be in publication anymore, because it took the same thing and kind of was maybe the basis, if I thought back, maybe it was the basis for how I started thinking about all this, because for a long time I was worried that, oh, you don't use these colors because they don't sit right next to each other, right? Or if you're going to use two colors that sit right next to each other, you need to have a tertiary to blend in to make sure that it doesn't look too clown suit, right?
We got two recommendations for a book called Color and Light.
Color and Light, yeah, okay, cool. Because it should take you down that same path. Because the reality is, as soon as you put light into the equation, nothing is at full vibrancy anymore. The color wheel thinks of things at full vibrancy, which is not how color works in the real world. It can be great if you're painting the primary color, you know, think about it like children's book style vibrant colors, then there are probably some rules you want to follow, because it does look clown suit and very odd, grandma's quilt, you know, kind of, it doesn't really work, but grandma's nice, so I'm going to wear it anyway. You know, and you don't want to go down that path if you're, you know, painting for showing friends and things like that. But theory and practice of color, maybe that's it. Theory and practice of color. That sounds very familiar.
Oh, Chuck, I'm happy to read that you are getting back into your miniature painting.
Stove, that might be it. It was an old book, so that might be it. I'd have to, well, it didn't really have a cover per se. The one that I had was like a very Art Deco-y cover. It didn't have anything worth mentioning on it. It was like shapes. Out of the box is where creativity lives. You know, it's funny. It's interesting that I always pronounce that you have to know the rules to be able to break them efficiently. Does that make sense? Because you can just break the rules. I always use human anatomy as the sense of this. You can find a cartoonist that can draw cartoony stuff, and I can tell you very quickly in most cases if that person knows anatomy. Because there's some people that don't know anatomy at all, and so when they draw cartoony things, they just don't feel right. Charles Schultz, drawing Peanuts, knows anatomy, and it was evident in the way he drew Snoopy and Linus and all these other people, right, that even though they were cartoony, big head, small body, that there was an understanding of anatomy there, right, that didn't make it feel so uncanny valley that it didn't appeal to you. Because there's a level where you go beyond a point and the realism gets ripped out of the brain, and now you're only appealing to a particular crowd of people that can remove that realism need and identify with whatever it is you're painting. That's a very small subsection of society that can find interest in that. And I think half of them are lying to feel like they're part of the in crowd, right? It's like the meme of people looking at fine art and acting like they really love it, you know, and then the next picture is, I have no idea what I was just looking at, right? So it's understanding the rules. Picasso was a fantastic portraiture painter, but you wouldn't know it from the paintings he was famous for because it's all crazy, outlandish stuff. But there's an understanding of how the world works in everything that he did. And same for a lot of artists. And that's how they can get away with doing this kind of crazy avant-garde or weird comical stuff. And it just feels right. Comic books have always been a great place. There's some people whose anatomy is so horrible, like Rob Liefeld. It's just his anatomy's bad. And it doesn't feel like he knows good anatomy to begin with. And then there's people like J. Michael Straczynski. No, he's a writer. I'm gonna go for who would be a good case here. The guy that did Battle Chasers, right? Some of the anime artists, you can tell that even though the arms will be out of proportion and the face and the body will be out of proportion, that they do it in a way that reflects their understanding of at least what the distance from shoulder to elbow to wrist is. They may just extend those things, but there's still a balance there that it can be refined and make you understand. Spider-Man's always been an outlet for this. Spider-Man has weird proportions in a lot of the artwork through the years, but in a lot of cases you could tell who was actually, who was drawing it knew anatomy well enough to bend and break those rules, so it didn't feel like, was he a stick figure? What's going on? So,
Chuck, I don't know how you can call yourself a mead man if you're not offering mead to your guests.
Mike Mignola is a fantastic example. Mike Mignola can draw his butt off, but when you look at Hellboy and a lot of the things that he's done, even when he would do guest covers for other things like X-Men, it was his Mignola style, which was crazy proportions, very Picasso-esque type stuff. But yeah, very good example. Mignola's a hero. Like, his stuff is fantastic. But he knows how to bend and break the rules to get a visual style across that makes you fall in love with his storytelling and his characters in a way that if he just drew them normal, it wouldn't have happened.
Got a couple questions about compressors.
About compressors?
Yes. So.
Loud and proud. Buy big ones.
One is asking, let me find it. Here we go. Abandoned Soul, can anyone recommend a quiet compressor for airbrushing? I live in an apartment with roommates, like to paint late into the morning, but I need a quiet compressor. And then Boshek is asking if you have any compressor recommendations. Nothing crazy expensive, but something good.
Even the simple pistonless compressors at like Harbor Freight are fairly quiet. I think they all run at like 30 to 40 decibels. In a quiet household at night while people are sleeping, there's no such thing as a quiet compressor. Because as you know, everything makes noise, right? In dead quiet, that's where, you know, it's like when you're trying to wake up, everybody's asleep, and you're trying to be quiet, everything feels like it's super loud. The compressor is going to be super loud feeling no matter what if you're working in a quiet nighttime environment. So I don't know that any of them are perfect for that. But the small hobby compressors, they're pistonless. It looks like just a small cylinder. It's got what looks like a valve cover on top that has usually heat sinks on it, and then it's got the hose comes out the front. Those are all going to be made very similar. They're all going to have that dull drone when you turn them on. You could, if you were spraying for small periods of time, you could put a hood over it to help lessen the noise, but realize now you're constricting airflow. So unless you build a fairly exhaustive container that has fans on it, like your computer, that draws air from outside, cools it, and exhausts it, then, and by doing so, you've just let the noise back out. So it's not worth really playing with. Those work really well. For quiet, that's all. Yeah, Joe Mad. Nick, you got it. Joe Mad. The author, artist of Ghost in the Shell, New Anatomy. He drew the sexy stuff too, I've heard. I've been told. You haven't never gone and sought it out, huh, Gameplay? Sound pads, yeah. So they'll come with rubber feet on them. Generally, you can do butyl rubber blocks that you get. They make really good ones that are made for putting your furniture on, so your furniture doesn't move around. You can get some of those, and you can set the rubber feet inside those, because a lot of the sound is actually the vibration of it moving around on a surface. So putting it on a carpeted floor helps. Things like that. There's always going to be a natural mechanical noise coming from a compressor, though. There's no such thing as a quiet one. The little bitty battery-operated USB, ones that like go into the airbrush are the most like quiet, like noiseless compressors you can get, but they're pretty much garbage. They burn up real quick. They're not worth.
Brannigan's Brushes is coming in with a raid.
Brannigan!
Welcome everyone from Brannigan's Brushes.
Hello. Thank you, Brannigan. It's we started with royal purple, then jade, then ultramarine blue, and then wizard's butt. Wizard's butt over the top. Very, very diluted wizard's butt over the top to give it some warmth and that kind of yellowy flare up top. And now I'm going back and doing some magenta, some dark hot pink from Louise's set. Rogue Hobbies going on here. Look at me. I'm like total like synthwave thumb
like
here.
My colors.
Painting like I'm Jen.
Yep, wizard's butt. The elusive and exclusive wizard's butt. Very rare.
Very highly sought after color.
Highly sought after.
I've got this dark hot pink to wash consistency, and I'm just kind of stippling it into areas I want it and letting it build up to give me that kind of blood under the skin in certain areas here. Don't want to go too far overboard with it, but it's a nice color to have. It's fun. Between the fingers is a great spot for it.
Your thumb looks like half my clothes from high school.
Yeah, right? It's like I didn't really realize what I was doing there. All of a sudden, I'm like, whoa. I'm every band I hated when I was young.
Hypercolor. Oh my gosh, remember Hypercolor?
What was Hypercolor?
The fabric that changed colors with your
Oh, if you got like sweaty?
Yeah.
I never had anything like that, but I do remember it.
Oh, I did.
I always remember as a kid being like, okay, so I have one company advertising how to hide the ring around the collar.
Yeah, and the other one
trying to
encourages it.
expose
Just
the ring
embrace it.
around the
It's gonna
collar.
happen anyway. It was like the mood ring of clothing.
Yeah, it was like the mood ring of clothing. Like it was like all the guys out on date night. Like you could tell their sweatbands.
What was the brand? Genera.
Genera?
Yeah. I had this exact shirt. It just said Genera Hypercolor.
How funny.
And it was like a periwinkle kind of purpley, and it would change colors with your body temperature.
I always remember that painting with washes is a really great way to get used to glazing because the washes have their opacity knocked down so far initially anyway. So even though I've taken an opaque paint and dark hot pink and turned it into a wash by mixing our glazed wash medium and a bunch of water with it, right, that I'm using it in the exact same way that I would a wash, and it's allowing me to basically glaze with it, stipple it on, wipe it off with my finger, have a lot of fun with it, and not worry about, overdoing color too much to a point where I feel like, oh, mess that up.
Mr. Shankly, that's a fantastic idea. We're going to get Jason on that. All of his attention is going to go to that.
What did I do?
Hypercolor ultramarine monument shirts that turn wizard's butt when you sweat.
So I'm not...
Get on that.
I'm not doing that at all. That doesn't sound good to me at all.
Seismic Unseen is Nova Orange only available through the Monument store. Not necessarily. There might be some U.S. stores that have some.
I know Discover Games just showed in Georgia. They're carrying it. They have the ability to order it. It's a weird color for us. It wasn't really a formal... we did it because it was going to be fun with Nova. It's going to stay as part of the line, but it doesn't have a spot on the retail rack. So
it does not have a spot.
So it doesn't have a spot where like your retailer has like a card insert that shows that color on there. So there might be some stores that don't know it exists and don't order it. It's kind of bad on us. We'll figure out how to make that better in the future. But yeah, you can order it. You can definitely tell your local store that you want some and they can order it.
If you're in the U.S. Jade, fingers crossed. Give us an update tomorrow. And have a good night.
What's that?
Jade said, hopefully no one catches fire tomorrow.
Hopefully no one catches fire. Someone will. Someone somewhere.
Someone somewhere will. Yes.
Will yell, I'm on fire!
Hopefully no one in your immediate vicinity. Or ours.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want a shirt that turns wizard's butt when you sweat, just buy a white one. Boshek, you feel dirty? You don't own any Pro-Acryl after all these years? After all these years?
We've gotten a bunch of new colors probably since...
Boshek's been around since we had maybe none. I feel like Boshek's been around since the early days.
I think we've had... I think Boshek was... well, Boshek, you can tell us. Were you watching us before we
made Pro-Acryl? From the olden days?
Papa Chicken, my local store is very hesitant to carry another paint line. If I want to convince them, I should...
Tell them that they'll make more money off of our brand than any other?
Seriously.
Next to Citadel?
Tell them to call their competitor that carries our line.
Yeah. Tell them to call another store that carries Pro-Acryl.
The closest store to them that carries our line and ask them why they should carry it.
Our partner stores are our biggest voice in that world. They will tell other competitive stores, that if you like to print money, bring in Pro-Acryl.
No one local carries it. Where are you? Oh, you're in Oregon? Washington? We definitely have stores up there. Oh, Idaho. Okay. Gameopolis in Idaho Falls. Real Deal Tabletop. They've been around for a long time, since the beginning. Real Deal Tabletop in Coeur d'Alene. So just have them call one of those. Gameopolis and Real Deal Tabletop. Okay, yeah, so that's the closest one for you. So even more reason why they should carry it. If there's no one in the general vicinity, then they can be the only one in the area until someone else brings the line in too.
Hey, Gabe, you can turn the compressor off.
Early adopters can corner the market. Get on that store locator, whole bunch of new customers. If they're a competitor, don't call, because they're going to say that it's terrible and you don't want it.
Yeah, we usually tell people to call out of market, not like down the street.
Yeah, but there's no one in that market, so yeah. It's definitely a good business decision. Answered how long I've been here. A long while before Pro Curl. Oh.
Yeah, Gosu's been around a long time.
No, Boshek.
Boshek,
yeah.
Sorry.
Gosu too, though. Darth Mullen said, I love your choice of blues. I am a blue man myself.
Using white blue mixed in.
There was a question about blue earlier, and you were right in the middle of talking about airbrushes, maybe. That was quite a while ago. If you asked a question about blue, it was something about which blue would be good for X, Y, or Z. So if you're still here and you ask that question, can you type it again? I remember it was someone who said, I have all the Pro Curl blues. What would be a good color for? You should pull them out on stream and show them. We have a color brochure on our website. Carlos Danger, thank you for the follow. You can paint all the letters with any blue you want. That is true. Not just X, Y, and Z. Oh, it is 3:43 already, by the way.
What?
I know. How did that happen?
What? Impossible. Guy is sculpted very smooth, so I'm trying to give a little bit of texture on there to set up hair. We'll have to do a lot of work to get the hair to feel right. I'm doing bright over dark to get some contrast set up first. Then we'll have to go back and darken this up again in spots to get our values back in. Hair, when doing it, is a big back and forth thing to make it feel right.
Papa Chicken wants to know if streaming is often your favorite part of the workday.
Yeah, I was just talking about it today, as a matter of fact. People consistently in my work life, I talk to business owners and people outside of our industry, and they find out that we do this show 5 days a week, and they're like, "You don't do it still, do you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, I try to be on it as much as humanly possible, because it's like what really invigorates me for the hobby more than any spreadsheet I'll look at, and they're blown away. And I have to admit, there are days where, after doing this for 8-9 years, whatever, that it's tough to think about what I want to paint. You've heard me numerous times come on here going, nothing's speaking to me. But we all get that way, right? So it's really just pick up the brush, start painting, and it'll start speaking to you.
D-Fresh, sorry, I did see that question earlier and didn't get a chance to read it out. D-Fresh would like to know how the quality was on the War Machine model you painted. Said, I'm thinking of grabbing some new stuff to paint.
I will say that I was pleasantly surprised with the 3D printing and the quality of it. Yeah, they've been pretty good. The cleanup has been fairly reasonable on all of them. There were a couple of models where it was a little bit brutal in the arena of like finding detail on the model, because the print was a little soft, if you understand that. But by and large, I've been super happy with them.
Bochek's been following since 2016, which is like old house.
Yeah.
When we used
That's
to
the year that we started painting.
Sit down and paint. That's when I painted my first miniature.
Yep.
It's crazy. Long time.
Yeah, because Bochek, when you first came on stream, he was like the afraid of girls.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a girl.
I was still in the Navy in 2016. Still am. I don't think, well, I don't know if that's just like a generic Twitch command, but I don't think that our commands work for you guys. I think we've determined that. Girls have cooties. Everyone knows this. We're only seeing the top part of the model right now.
What's that?
We only see the top part of the model right now.
Oh, sorry. Didn't see if it's probably hard to tell at this zoom out level, if I zoom in, you can see what I'm doing. I'm really, no, I think it's this one, right? No, not that one. Oh, I probably don't have a punch in on this one, do I? Let's go back to just here. You guys know what I'm doing on the mixing side, right? So it's literally just taking these hyper small brush strokes.
It's real blurry.
What's that?
It's not focusing.
And being able to just kind of get the consistency right on your brush so that it's thin enough to make thin lines, right? Thick paint won't make thin lines, but not so thin that it runs into crevices and such. You're having to kind of play with it in a way that lets the line keep its shape. And with this contrast layer when doing hair, I guess contrast layer is as good as what to say, although that means lots of different things to different people now with contrast paints. But I'm just trying to get the contrast of hair built up in the areas where I've got light. And then we'll go back over it and darken it down, because obviously I'm breaking up a lot of my light and shadow when I do this. But I think it helps given that the model is so smooth. Like, he's got fur on his face and then all the muscles are smooth. So this is all sculpted. But everything else is just kind of like he's bare skin. Get it? Ha 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 ha. Get it?
I get it.
Get it, chat?
I get it.
Jen got it. Did you get it? Bare skin. It's like they wanted him to have bare skin. Get it? See what I did there?
A for effort.
Come on. I get more than that.
Unforgettable jokes. I can barely contain my laughter. Oh, T. Schmidt said it was bad enough that you need to fire you.
Chat, we're hiring. Wait a minute. Surprised that didn't
Right?
summon Telemachus. Telemachus is like, wait a minute. I got a notification someone was trying to take my spot. I love that we have community members that are just known for those certain things.
Yeah.
Another thing to remember with hair is that you're constantly having to realign your brush stroke. You don't want it. I mean, I guess there could be times where you want the hair to kind of all go in the same direction, but I'm not trying to make like perfectly coiffed hairdo. Beardo. Did it again. I should be commended for this stuff.
Tells her ears are burning. Drop and roll, Tell.
Wah,
I don't often tell dad jokes, but when I do, he laughs.
wah, wah.
Oh, looks like you have a call at 4:15.
4:15, yes. What time is it?
It's 3:55.
3:55. 4:15 call with somebody in England. They're committed to the hobby.
What time is that?
They are committed to the hobby. Because that's like midnight 15 this time of year.
Midnight 15 o'clock.
Midnight 15. Be home by midnight 20.
Just turning midnight. Wow. That's way past my bedtime.
Yeah. He's like, we gotta meet. I was like, well, I got 4 o'clock, but that's gonna be really late. He's like, he goes, this was last night. Okay, so you want to know how funny it is? Is last night he's messaging me saying, hey, can we talk before you get out of town? And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, but understand, like, the only time I have is really late. And he goes, that's great. Your afternoon works great for me right now on the timeline I'm at. I'm like, boy, really? I mean, like, I'm talking like 4 o'clock my time. That's going to be super late for you. And if he'd been sitting in front of me, he would have paused. Because this was at 7:30 last night.
Oh, 7:30 our time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 6:30 or 7:30 our time last night. And if he'd have been sitting at a table, he would have gone, he would have given me this face.
Like, do you know what time it is right now?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, wait. Like, it's like 3:30 in the morning for you right now. So it must have been like 6:30 or something like that. So I was like, okay, you're serious. 4 p.m. is good. That's like early for you right now. We hired a cleaning company, and I think they start today too. What do you think, chat? That'll play his hair as I get it built up, right? Hair is one of those things, it's very frustrating to have to paint on a model, but can really do wonders if you've got something, especially like a polar bear, right? Where it's a little silly to think that the polar bear would have smooth skin. Again, just working crosshatch patterns, sort of. It is fun because it's like, I don't want to say finger painting, but it is, you know, it's very chaotic again, right? You're learning a lot about me today, chat. I like the whole no rhyme, no reason. Just freaking put paint on it. Not hard. Watching me paint hair was the highlight of your day? Is that good? Is that good or is that a very bad thing? I can see that in both directions. Like, hey, honey, what was great about your day today? I watched a dude on the internet paint hair. And tell really bad jokes about painting hair on a bear. Philip. We have a Philip. It's a me. He's got no, I don't think his mic's on. Mic's not on, camera's not on. Game delay, you are correct. The problem with this hobby is all the barriers to entry. Chat deserved that one. That was game delay. So blame game delay.
Oh, I see
it.
Sorry, I gave it. Get one free.
So game delay's freebie was like years ago, I think. I don't think he's entitled more freebies, actually.
Fine.
We have a random Phil sighting. What's going on, big guy? How's your day been?
Good. We're 4:30. So...
Oh, somewhere over in this neck of the woods?
Yeah, in Arcadia. So... I'll grace you all with my presence.
Oh, nobody can hear you. He's saying he will grace us with his presence because he's in that awkward can't go home, has a 4:30 appointment close by the office. So he can't leave.
Finished all my work. Normally I'm here. If I stay late, I'm here working.
Stoked on this. I think that'll look good. Very quick.
You going polar bear?
Polar bear.
Okay. Figured with all the blues.
Polar bear with a bunch of purples and magentas and jades and ultramarine blue. You know, I've just been playing around with color, so it hasn't been rhyme or reason. I just keep saying, you know what I'd like, and so I'll go back and do like the magenta over the top of what I thought was already looking good. It's already changed its look quite a bit because it went from this kind of yellow, jade, purple, blue into, you know, now me doing the skin with all those colors underneath it. And I decided I would paint the hair, so now I've messed up all my volumes, and I gotta go back and do that again because the plastic's all smooth.
Yeah.
So Kind of a bummer. A blue polar. Everything in the Arctic is blue. Didn't you learn that in school, chat?
All blue. There's just a lot of sun. So
Gameplay says, I've only been in chat for a year. I just made it seem like much longer. Today was Ruben the Paint Beast's 4th anniversary at Monument Hobbies. Isn't that crazy? He is our longest standing employee. It's even, what's even crazier to think about is that 4 years ago, last week, 4 years ago from last week, there were exactly 2 people that worked at Monument Hobbies.
Just you and Jen.
Me and Jen.
You and Jen.
Me and Jen. Making the paint, bottling the paint, shipping the paint, doing the stream, me and Jen. That's it. 2 people. 2 people. Isn't that crazy?
My 3 years at the end of
This month?
month.
Do I have it on the calendar?
September 30th.
Did I put it on the calendar?
You've been here 3 years?
Yeah.
We've been.
Me and Ruben, that's the joke we always made together. Ruben was almost exactly a year longer than me.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So it was just me and him, and
Yeah.
now it's. I was talking to Jacob about it today because we were talking about like who's the oldest in here. Is like it goes. And Philip, Jacob.
Yeah.
Jacob is the next.
Yep.
That's
oldest,
crazy,
which
isn't
is
it?
Wild. To
Yeah.
think about. Like Jacob is the next.
Yeah, it's crazy. Real Mamba, what's going on?
What up?
First and longest employee. Yep.
Yeah.
Good old Ruben.
The old rooster.
But then, yeah, I think you're next.
I'm next, yeah, because it was me, it was Ruben, Eamon,
Christian.
I know there was and Christian.
Christian,
I know there
yeah,
was somebody else too. Wasn't there?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Wasn't there long.
Ruben.
Yeah, everybody between you and Ruben has since departed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Christian was the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruben. It was
Eamon.
Ruben, Eamon,
Eamon.
Christian.
Eamon, Christian, you.
I was.
Yeah.
Two raids at the same time. Did you see that?
Oh, two?
Ms.
Oh.
Mau Mau and Real Mamba.
Hey, what's going on?
Thank you.
Real Mamba, thank you for the raid. Miss Mau Maus, thank you for the raid. It is quitting time around here, though.
It is.
It is.
And unfortunately, we can't stream late because I have a 4:15 meeting. And unless Jen wants to get up here and paint
No.
all by herself.
I got stuff to do.
Jen's like, I got stuff to do. Boshek remembers. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Boshek probably remembers the days where we would stream me putting caps on paint bottles.
We got a stream today, but I don't got time to paint.
Yeah, literally, there were streams where when the paint line started taking off and it was just Jen and I working, we would fill paint during the day, and then the stream time would come around, and we had so many orders to fill, I had to cap. So I would put the chat on my iPad or on my phone and a thing in front of me, and I would flip the face cam from there. I would flip it over 180 degrees to stare at the production area, because the production area was like at one half of the room, and then the studio for the stream was in the other half. And then chat had a blast. We had super active chat while I was just sitting there literally going zzz, putting tops on bottles the whole time.
Beginning of our real behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Monument Hobbies.
When I was doing production with Ruben, I loved just
Well, we didn't want to miss stream.
5 feet behind.
I always hate missing stream.
Yeah.
Boshek said, what color of PA would you use to match Ushtabi bone or whatever? Probably bone. I don't know. Ushtabi might be a little bit more in the ivory range, but that our bone color is pretty close, I believe. So anyway,
Links are up.
thanks everybody for hanging out with us. We did this little quick palette cleanser. We got some good color on him. I'm now putting the contrast layer of fur on, not contrast paints, but painting on a slick surface, making it look like he has hair. So the first layer that I do when I do that is kind of a contrast layer. It's a bright color over the darker color. Then I will actually go back and shade and do some darker colors in there to give some shadowing to the hair that we've got, now that I have the hair, you know, kind of where I want it. We'll go back and put some shadows in there to bring back the musculature and the shape of the body, and probably do some glazing and stuff. And then we'll go back and we'll highlight it one more time. We'll highlight all those individual hairs. Well, not all of them, but a bulk of the individual hairs that I've painted on today, we'll go back and highlight those so that we'll actually have it look like fur. And then we got to paint all the rest of the stuff. He's got all their stuff, armors and things. Fun little model. Great way to break the monotony. Dark ivory might be close, Flapjack. Yep, dark ivory or bone.
Thanks to all of you.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who hung out with us today. It's been a great stream. We've had a lot of fun, good, bad jokes. and good stories. We had a lot of learning going on. We got a chance to talk about airbrushing a lot, quite a bit about color theory and ways to approach color on your model. So if you tuned in late, make sure to go back and check out the stream. It will be live, or it will be in the live tab on our YouTube channel immediately after we stop the stream. You're always able to go back and watch all of the past craziness. And remember, if you're new around here, hit that follow button. We do stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time here in America, Phoenix, Arizona time. We'd love to see you back here. Also, check all the links that Jen put in the chat. Our Discord is a great family of painters, just like yourselves, approaching 5,000 of them. Great way to play, find new inspiration, talk about games you played, show off your dog, cat, birds, snakes, lizards, food.
Spiders for Jordan.
Just a great place to hang out and make new friends. So go check that out,
spiders.
as well as Monument Hobbies, the store, and the FLGS link, where you can find local stores closer to your neck of the woods where you can walk in, help support them. They do all the hard work by giving you a place to play and meet new friends in real life. So have to check the VOD. Showed up very late. Flapjack. It's been a lot of fun today. A lot of good talks on color. So thanks for hanging. Stick around. We're going to find somebody to raid. Remember that tomorrow I may not be on stream. I'm going to try to poke in at least, but we've got a lot of meetings. It's my last day in town until Monday the 30th, which is crazy. So you won't have me on stream. I'm going to I don't know if any of you out there play Team 40K, but I am going to the Champions Cup thrown on by Frontline Gaming. It's in Dallas, Texas this coming weekend. I leave Thursday. That will be running Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be there doing the paint judging. It is an 8-man team tournament. It will be a lot of fun. There's like 500 players there. It's crazy. Players and coaches. Should be a lot of fun. I don't get to go to a lot of tournament, like hardcore 40K tournament events like that. I'm not playing, but I'm going to get to soak it all in. It'll be a lot of fun, and I get to see, close to 500 people's armies of 40K, which is insane. So we're going to have a fun time there. And then after that, I go on a business trip, and I will be back on the 30th, but Jordan will be back in tomorrow. And of course, Jen will be here. The lovely Jen will be here guiding the show.
I probably won't be here tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, because we have the same meetings.
We're in the same meeting.
So it might be Jordan and Shelby or Christopher. But we will keep you engaged while I am gone. I will try to poke into Discord. Maybe I'll throw some pictures of the Champions Cup going on while I'm there. Do some Where's Waldo type trip stuff. Be a lot of fun. So thanks for hanging out. Stick around for the raid. Show some love in the channel we wind up in, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Adios,
Bye,
gang.
everyone.